Hello everyone, my name is Koala Superhero and welcome to my gaming channel. Doomfist has been out for a few weeks now, so I thought it was a good time to share some tips for anybody who's looking to pick him up and start playing him. This is the first ever video I'm making for this channel, so I really hope you enjoy it. Just let me know what you think really in the comments, that would be really helpful. Before we start though, let's have a look at who Doomfist is and what his role can be in a team composition. So he's an offense hero with quite a lot of health. He can also boost that health by gaining some shields by using his abilities. So he can be almost as durable as a tank, which is quite good for an attack hero. He's focused heavily on using his abilities and on close combat. Anything that's more medium or long range he won't do very good at. His gun is okay, but it won't be your main source of damage. If anything, it will be used to finish off enemies or peel off some HP, but nothing more than that. He's also quite a vulnerable character. He's larger than most other attack heroes, so that makes him an easy target. He's a bit of a glass cannon in that way, which means he can pack a really huge punch, pun intended, but if he misses his punch for example, he can find himself in a very tricky situation quite quickly. Now that we have a bit of an idea of what Doomfist is like, let's get started on the tips. Number 1 is bait out your enemies. Choose a spot and wait for enemies to come around corners. Get them to come after you and take them by surprise. Your rocket punch is what's going to deal the most damage for you, so you need to make the most of that and catch enemies off guard. Try for example to bait out a Reinhardt charge and then rocket punch when he lands. Same goes for when you're fighting against another Doomfist. Try and bait out his rocket punch, and then when he lands it, go for the kill. Bear in mind that your rocket punch can one-shot most enemies that aren't tanks or bastion, so it is a really powerful attack, so you need to really make the most of it. Number 2, you can jump around corners. If you combine your uppercut and slam abilities, you can reach enemies who think they're safe behind some cover. You can cover a surprisingly long distance with this combination, especially if you're starting off from high ground, so use this to your advantage to glide across the map, and as our favourite cyborg ninja says, strike your enemies where they do not expect. Number 3, use your punch to interrupt enemy ultimates. Given that your punch interrupts and knocks back, you can use it against things like Reaper's Death Blossom or Roadhog's Whole Hog to stop them in their tracks, protect your team, and also make them waste their ult. You don't need a full charge to interrupt them, just a tap and it'll be enough. This way, a bit like Anna with the sleep dart, you can be very quick to react to enemy ultimates. You can be quite creative with this, and for example charge into Junkrat's Riptire. You won't actually damage Junkrat, but you'll destroy his Riptire, thus potentially protecting your whole team. On a side note, this also works against things like Roadhog's Take a Breather and other similar abilities, so use it to deny him that healing and help your team take him down. On to number 4, which is you can punch people off the map. When hit by your rocket punch, enemies do travel quite a distance, so you can knock them off the map from somewhere they think is safe. You can also knock yourself off the map, as you can see right here. Don't do that. This isn't the same as Reinhardt's charge for example, where you're leaping to your own death by taking someone with you. Here, provided you do hit your target, you will boot them off the map without putting yourself at risk. Tip number 5 is try to have a hard surface behind your enemies. When you're not trying to throw your enemy off the map, try whenever possible to have a wall or a structure or anything you can punch your enemies against. Since your rocket punch deals damage in 2 different steps, when you hit your enemy and when the enemy hits the surface, you really need that surface behind them. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're punching your enemies away from you out of range. First off, you're not going to benefit from the second round of damage, and then secondly, you're going to send them too far away for you to actually do anything afterwards. Tip number 6 is that remember that your gun is a projectile weapon. Like Zenyatta or Pharah for example, your gun shoots projectiles. These take a certain amount of time to reach their target, which means you have to counter aim and predict where your enemies are going to be to actually hit them. So don't waste your time trying to hit enemies who are at medium or long range. Try and concentrate on the ones that are closer to you. Use Doomfist's hand cannon to finish off enemies who are at a low HP for example, or to follow up after a punch. Remember the weapon can shoot quite quickly but only has 4 bullets, and you can't force reload by pressing R, you have to wait for them to regenerate themselves. Number 7 is that you're quite vulnerable after you ult. For a brief moment after you land, you stand still in the epicenter of your meteor strike. This makes you a really easy target for people like Anna with their sleep dart, Mei with her icicle shot, or anybody else who can pick you off from a long range. So watch out not to ult yourself into a bad position. The same goes for your uppercut ability, which leaves you lingering in the air for a moment after your strike. Again, this makes you a really easy target for people like Widowmaker who can prepare their shot and take it when they need to. Tip number 8 is that your ult is also an escape route, so don't forget that whilst you do your ultimate, you are invulnerable. Nothing can hit you, nothing can damage you, not even other ultimates, not sleep darts, not even Sombra's hack, nothing. So if you do find yourself in a tricky situation, you can use your ultimate to get out of it. A bit like Mercy when she does her resurrection, she becomes invulnerable for a while, and it allows her to stay alive for those few seconds, which might actually make a huge difference in the game. tip number 9 is to try and choose slower moving targets. So in general, if you aim for slower moving targets, they'll be easier to hit. That makes sense. Also, the slower moving targets are usually the ones with the bigger hitboxes, so there's more surface to hit as well. Focus your attention towards the larger targets rather than trying to reach those smaller targets like Tracer or Genji, who are just going to be a thorn in your side. And finally, tip number 10. As you've seen me do throughout this video, you can charge your punch before you actually see your enemies. So for example, if you know an enemy is going to be around the corner, charge your punch before you turn the corner to take him by surprise. Since you can freely aim whilst your punch is charging, this allows you to be very versatile and adapt to most situations. You can even cancel it if there aren't any enemies there and you don't actually want to charge forwards. The only downsides are that your charge makes quite a lot of noise, so enemies might hear you coming, and secondly, you are slowed whilst this is happening, so make sure you don't have anybody that's got line of sight over you that can take you down from afar. So that's it for this video. That's all the tips I have for you right now. If you have any of your own, please share them in the comments below, and again, just let me know what you think of this video because your feedback will be very helpful. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see next on this channel, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you did like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Other than that, just thank you for watching and I'll catch you later.